Welcome to this evening's showing of Take Back Your Power, very moving and inspiring film about smart meters and some of the dangers that they are presenting to our whole population. And I don't know if you know this, but in the last 3 years, over half the world's population has been transferred from analog meters to smart meters. So there is a big agenda going on here to do this. So we're not alone here in this circumstance, but we're really glad you're here because this is a very important issue to find out about, to learn about. My name is Kim Glassard. I'm with Director of Organic Sacramento and co-director of the Sacramento Smart Meter Awareness Group. And this is Eric Windheim, also co-director of the Sacramento Smart Meter Awareness Group, and has been he has been the major fight in this, I don't know if I'd say battle, but the circumstance of us allowing people in Sacramento to go back to analog meters. So we'll talk more about that later, but we want to just let you know that we are honored here in Sacramento to be one of 6 locations throughout this country to have access to this film and this pre-screening. So we're really fortunate right now to get this information. This is about a 90-minute film, but you'll get a whirlwind of information on smart meters that would take us, many, many hours to discuss individually with everybody. So we're really thrilled that everybody's here to learn about this. So the evening is going to be a film, and then we're going to do a short time of presentation about some of the needs of the director and producer of the film, and where he's at with the film. We'll talk about that, and then also about where we're at with Sacramento and our circumstance here. And then we'll have a panel discussion with, we have 2 special scientists from Berkeley who come, and then a couple of people here also from Sacramento area. So you can ask questions, you can get information, and because, as you see, we've got plenty of still seating. If you want to move up closer so you get a better seat, you're welcome to do that, and we welcome that. So anyway, I want to give time to Eric. I guess we've got a few constraints we're hoping for today that we need to have you take care of before we get started.
Okay, well, first of all, we're really glad you're here, and this is going to help you talk to other people. And then we really want you to participate in the discussion later, because you're going to have so much information in your mind. Now is the best time to nail it down and cement it with questions with our panel afterwards. Now, in regards to phones, we have people here that are extremely EMF sensitive. Hopefully you're not, but we're going to need you to actually put your phone in the airplane mode. Some people can feel the cell phone transmit 5 or 10 feet away, so please do that. Additionally, since this is a proprietary pre-screening version of the film, no filming is allowed at all. So if anybody produces a cell phone and pulls it up, we're going to have to ask you to relinquish that to us till the end of the movie. Then the little white packages, and we'll take good care of it, by the way. The little white envelopes, that's a feedback form. We really want you to say, look, I want to help, or whatever I want. Here's what I want. Write it on there. Fill it out. If you want to donate to the film after you've seen what it's worth, that'd be appreciated. So many people here have sacrificed tremendously to have the right to have an analog meter back. I'll tell you, SMUD did not want to get it back. And there's some very dedicated people that made it. But anyway, your feedback on that orange slip is fine. We're going to be collecting them at the doors on the way out. And if you'd be so kind as to just put them in the buckets on the way out, we would like to be able to stay in touch. I send out emails once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, and you can be directed to the page we have on EMF safety. This is for your benefit. This is nonprofit. I don't share any emails with anybody else, but we need your help. We cannot do this alone. There's no Lone Rangers out there. They end up getting scalped. Yeah, we're going to go to the film now. You're going to love it. If you need to use the bathroom, it's downstairs at both sides of the lobby, but please stay for the discussion. Your questions are important. Thank you.
Got a place where people, if they want to provide additional donations or help the filmmaker, there's an opportunity to do that. There's also an opportunity to get connected with us, with Sacramento Smart Meter Awareness Group, and information. And also if you have resources or something that you could do to help the group, some kind of special skill sets or something. So there's a place to also offer that information. So if people would like to fill out that form, or that would be appreciated. And then I think that Eric is going to, when he gets back here, he's going to update us also on what's happened in Sacramento and where we are as a community here. There's been a group of people for at least the last year have been working with SMUD to try to get an option for people in Sacramento to go back to analog meters. This finally happened about maybe 6 weeks ago, approximately. And I have to say, we have to give credit where credit's due. Eric Windheim has been a fundamental, foundational part of bringing us to this point. Also, Bertie Gow and Julie Ostowich they've been deep in the trenches for most of this whole year. I guess I got involved probably back in November, and then a number of us, the numbers have been increasing. But this is such a really, really serious situation that we all need to come together on this. We've been working with SMUD, and I tell you, it's been pretty excruciating. They did allow us to go back to analog meters. However, it's very reluctantly that they did it. They're saying only a few people are allowed to go back, and you have to have some magic, reason for doing it. But we want it available for everybody, and we want it at no cost. And we feel that it is. So, but we need everybody's help. We need everybody at the SMUD board meetings. We need people writing to their SMUD members, SMUD board of directors, and we need everybody's participation to make this happen. So, and we need you to reach out to your friends, to reach out to your families, but most of all, you need to get your meter changed out. You need to call the SMUD board, and they're on the little form that is in that envelope, the salmon-colored form here. It gives a place where you can check that you want information on returning to an analog meter, and there is kind of a magic formula of what you need to say to SMUD in order to allow you to do that, I guess. Some people are requesting, and they're not being allowed to go back. I mean, they're not being told that they have that option. So we're hoping that you will give us at least your email address, and then we'll send you that information so that you'll know the exact wordage to say, you'll get the right phone number to call and things. And you need to go back. You need to then talk to your neighbors, get them to do it. We need to have this whole city turned around. If we can do it in our city in Sacramento, in our whole bigger Sacramento area, then there's hope for the rest of the world. But if we don't do it here, I don't know what hope there is.
I was really glad to have Kim from Organic Sacramento come and help, because a year ago it was only me down there telling SMUD, I prohibit you from this, I prohibit you from that, I prohibit you from this, I prohibit you from that, and if you persist and injure my wife, so much the worse for SMUD. I'll take every legal venue possible to make sure that you pay. They just hadn't had anybody like that come down. And I said, right from the first meeting, this is extortion, this is illegal. And then we got people to come in, and it's just been kind of a miracle. I'd like to say that God has blessed us along the way and providentially provided the right skills. We are asking, if you have certain skills, consider adding them and joining our effective, small but effective group. I'd like to let you know that we have accomplished something that's never been accomplished before in the United States. SMUD is the 6th largest municipal utility in the whole United States, And they're the first ones to relent and let the customers have their analog meters back. I want to let you know that if it was just me, and maybe me and Kim, or 2 or 3 people, it wouldn't happen. When we go to SMUD, we need a bunch of people like this. It doesn't have to be every week, although I never miss one, and I was down there this morning. I haven't missed one in a year. That's twice a month at least. But when we get people, they don't like to see faces. They're scared of losing their, quote, excellent customer reputation, which in my opinion is just a facade. It's like a whitewashed sepulcher. These people lie as a matter of course, just like you breathe. I'm sorry if you're a SMUD employer here. I'll be happy to talk to you about it. I had to tell them that this morning, as politely as possible. Now, also, what's neat is if you want to put in $50 at least, you're going to get a copy of the DVD mailed to you when it's finally produced. So that's a good way to help the film. I've got my $50 in here. You can put cash, check, Visa, seal it, and put it in the buckets for the women that are at the exits. Only person that's going to open that envelope is me. I'm entirely financially responsible for the whole thing. You have my word that the money will go directly to Josh Del Sol, the man you saw in the movie. And make your check out to Red 5 Marketing. Red 5 Marketing. And you may decide that later you want to do it. That's fine. I'd like to give you... Yes?
Red 5, please spell it.
Red, R-E-D, 5, F-I-V-E, Marketing. And now the other thing is we're going to have an expert panel come on up. And Richard, if you could raise the stage lights, more lighting. You see these angled lights? We want more light on them. Now, I'll tell you how I got involved in this. I've been analyzing dirty electricity for a couple years. And I knew right off the bat that these smart meters are really murder meters. And what's even worse than the radio frequency radiation is the dirty electricity that can play havoc with people's heartbeats. And SMUD has absolutely no testing, zero testing on humans. Oh, yeah, the meters have been well tested by other meters in laboratories. But they cringed and they recoiled when I said, produce to me your testing on human beings. They haven't. And here's the other legal facts. The lawful fact of right that you have to get your meter back. They did not give you full factual disclosure. Instead, they give you deception, or fractional truths. In our country, and under our Constitution, under which these board members swore an oath to uphold and protect, and I've got copies of all of them, our justice system requires the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And isn't that what sounds like what you're used to? Okay, they don't operate that way. They'll give you a fraction of the truth and saying the smart meter only transmits 6 times a day for billing purposes. They left out the other 13,381, and I was having that argument with them this morning. I said, no, we're going round and round and round and round on this whole thing. And so they're deceiving you. They didn't give full factual disclosure. They didn't get your express written consent. And this is a government-funded experiment. It's an illegal experiment. We'll talk more about that later. Oh, yeah, now the big thing is you've got questions, your mind's full of everything from the movie. The panel here is Lloyd Morgan. He's a scientist from Berkeley. He's been studying radio frequency radiation, dirty electricity, cancer, and tumors for almost 2 decades. Thank you, Lloyd, for coming from Berkeley. And in the middle is Dr. Antoinette Stein. She's also from Berkeley. I have to tell you, when I first started going to SMUD and writing letters, she called up one night and said, "Hi, Eric, can I help?" And I go, "Oh, yeah, who are you?" And she said, well, she helped me write my first 3 or 4 papers to SMUD, and if it wasn't for her, I probably never would have gone off the ground. So I think this is a good time to recognize her for that. And then we have Julie Ostowich. She lives here in Sacramento. She's a chief photographer at UC Medical Center, and she has been involved in many organic, natural health events along with Kim, fluoride, GMO, and this was a natural. And she's actually suffered tremendously, and so is Tony. Julie, you're going to tell a little bit about that, and I want Tony to tell a little bit about her victimization and how long the pain lasted after the meter was off. Now, we do have other people that have been severely impacted in the audience. I don't know if you'll want to, if they'll want to come up on stage, but Rosa is also in the auditorium, and there's other people here that have been highly impacted. So let's give those people that have been injured a big hand.
What Eric was saying is Rosa Perrick was in the film. She is here in our audience today, and she has gone through this whole process. She's quite a trooper, and she has quite a story to say. But I'm wondering, Eric, do you want to start with a little just introduction from each of the panelists? Do you want to do that, or?
We can do ourselves on that.
Yeah, go ahead. So you got the mic there. I gave you a general intro. Why don't you give like 1 or 2 minutes and tell them what your specialty is, and then all your questions are important. We definitely want you to ask, and we didn't use a wireless mic because people are affected, but you come down here and you can use the mic and ask your question. It's very important for everybody else to hear it.
My name is Lloyd Morgan. I am an electronic engineer by training. I had a whole career in electronic engineering. And I got into this field when I went to lunch with a work colleague in April 1995. And I had a 45-minute grand mal seizure during the lunch. That was a brain tumor. And when I asked my neurosurgeon, why did I get this thing? He said, perhaps electromagnetic fields. So I went immediately to the science. I found immediately, and in 1995, there were no studies yet on cell phones, but there were plenty of studies on electricity. And these studies, including ones funded and published by the electrical utility industry, showed statistically significant risk for brain tumors and for leukemia. And it's only grown a lot worse since. So I started attending meetings. I attend at least 2 meetings a year, sometimes 4. I will be going in June to attend the Brain Tumor Epidemiology Consortium, a bit of a mouthful, we call it BTEC, and the Bioelectromagnetic Society, BIMS. And I published a whole series of science papers and so on.
Great. Lloyd's amazing scientist at Environmental Health Trust. And I am a PhD engineer, environmental engineer. My day job, which I'm not here speaking on behalf, but I do want to share what I do as a regular day job. I work for the state of California in the Department of General Services in their procurement division on environmental issues. And I also worked for 3 years in their indoor environmental quality in the Department of Public Health. And this issue is very, very important. I've just introduced myself. We'll go on to questions. I'll let others introduce themselves.
It's gonna reach. I think we'll get this set up a little better here. Anyway, my name is Kim Glassard, and I'm also I'm a director of Organic Sacramento. I also am not here with my day job, but I do work for the state of California as an environmental scientist with California Environmental Protection Agency. So, and this situation just kind of, I became aware of in the last 6 months, but I've done extreme amount of study of it since then, and I found out it's really quite an onerous thing that we're being surrounded by. We have no clue about, we don't see it, we can't hear it generally, except ringing in the ears for some people. So it's really quite onerous, but people really need to know about it, so I'm so thankful everyone is here today.
Hi, my name is Julie Ostowich, and I'm a warrior in the cause also against getting the word out about the dangers of radio frequency microwaves and the dirty electricity. I joined Eric at SMUD board meetings pretty early on, since June of last year, when I had refused SMUD installation of a smart meter and was told I could not opt out. I was getting letters saying that they were going to turn off my electricity, and I contacted Sandy Maurer, who is heading a group in the Bay Area, in Santa Rosa area, called EMF Safety Network, and they're a great group, and also StopSmartMeters.org, and they put me in touch with Eric, and so I started. He encouraged me to come to a SMUD board meeting. I was really frightened because I'd never spoken in public before, and I've pretty much gone to almost every meeting also for the last 9 months, voicing my concerns, because I definitely am suffering from electro smog and electro sensitivity, as I believe it's impacted my family as well, particularly my son, in a great and harmful way.
So I think we're ready to go on to questions. Is that right, Kara?
Yes, we hope you have questions. We have people that can answer or direct you to anything. So who's got the first question? Don't everybody jump up at once. Okay, yeah, come on down. I'd like to point out that Julie and Kim worked till midnight, 1 and 2 in the morning making these flyers that you've seen. We're talking about people really burning the midnight oil. Okay, yeah, and let's give them a hand for that flyer. Okay, Ross, how did you find out about this today?
I found out about this on community radio, KVMR, and researched the subject before I came here. I'm concerned. I have some questions that the movie brought as well.
Oh, good. Now, come over here in the light a little bit. Okay, Ross, what's your question?
My question, the movie has certain video of birds and the kind of concerns of mass die-offs. I've read a lot about mass die-offs of marine mammals as well, horses, whales. The Navy's doing extremely low frequency ELF tests for new underwater sonar system that they want to roll out. There's been a lot of controversy about that. Are you going to try to roll that into what's going on with the smart meters right now? I noticed a little tiny portion of that, but then the movie didn't expand into this larger area, and if it's not going to expand in that larger area, maybe it's better off not to even get into that area, because I was waiting for more to round out what I already knew, and it wasn't there, and so I said, if I didn't know more of what I know, that would really distract me. And there were some dead ends in the movie that had that effect on me.
Yes, Ross, I tend to agree. And let's let Kim respond to that. You stick around, you might want to have a second question.
What I just like to say is they did cover and touch on a lot of different issues in the movie that were a little bit peripheral and I think need to be expanded on. I do think this is the tip of the iceberg, the smart meters. The smart meters are something that people can tangibly grasp because it's an invasion and it's on their home. They're seeing the direct impact. However, it's such a much larger, bigger issue, and it does touch, and I know what you're talking about, the studies of the sonar in the oceans, and yes, the Navy is doing a whole program right now, a 5-year program, where they're setting off all sorts of detonations of things in the ocean. But, however, we have to start somewhere, and we have to start the awareness, and we have to start waking people up at some level, and I think that that's where the smart meters come in a strong way. It's something tangible that people can really relate to and can get their minds wrapped around. So I think it will expand. I think there will be more information coming out. I personally know that this is just the beginning. If just getting those smart meters off is the beginning of this, if you want to call it a battle, I don't know what you want to call it, but we are so surrounded by all of the electromagnetic frequency types of things, that's, the cell towers, etc. It's just a big, huge issue in a lot of ways, but it's going to have to all be resolved.
Okay, was that helpful?
That was very helpful, and there's a general comments on the back.
Eric, should I also want to continue to answer to excellent question, and the film director and maker would love to hear you directly. So please feel free to write them and email them to him. Yes, and he's really made some changes already because I've seen the first couple versions of his film. But I do want to answer your question that CHE, Collaborative for Health and the Environment, CHE, C-H-E, EMF, is a work group that I co-moderate online, and you're all welcome. It's a public work site, and we distribute only scientific information. So you can join and watch the information and read the papers that get distributed, or yourself go to EMF Portal. It is a great database. You can put in keywords like bees or mammal, and find all the papers back to 70s. So please use those and feel free to contact us.
One follow-up question. The three large environmental groups that you mentioned, the Sierra Club, that you got a terse sort of uncomplimentary reply to your emails of cogent scientific information. The CDC and the Natural Resources Defense Council. What if those three are in not looking at the information in a unbiased way? Is there any environmental organization that is taking this seriously that we can give our time and effort and money to, rather than Sierra Club, which I belong to? I don't know that they were taking this position on this, and it makes me think that I might want to talk to more of them.
Let me add a point there. I think somebody with you with a DVD in your hand could have meetings in your home, and you could get it more going on than sending $50 to the Sierra Club or the Audubon Society. Okay, good. Somebody like you needs to have a DVD, and that's why it's important that you can be empowered and share this all the time. Okay, so by the way, at the end, we're going to have Lloyd Morgan show us a demonstration project with meters, light bulbs, and he's going to show you dirty electricity.
Eric, we have another answer to that, another response to that question.
Oh, okay.
There was once a day when the Sierra Club was an unknown and little teeny organization. In this room is an organization that is more powerful than anything I've seen in a long time, though it's just nascent. And at minimum, I would think that if you could donate at least the amount of money that you would to watch a movie, that you would go to a theater for, should be donated. And the other thing is, you could recruit other people. So this grows geometrically. Eric has gone from one person to this room. And the power of the public, if we're engaged, is the ultimate power.
Okay, Nancy, so you have a question?
I met Eric on Saturday, and I'm so grateful to all of you. Just can't even tell you. Didn't know the opt-out option was there, and so I called Simone on Monday, had the email from Eric, and mentioned his name, and boom, 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 it was right there. He knew exactly what I wanted with a few buzzwords, so it was great. Okay, I have one question.
Sure.
They talked about wireless appliances.
Yes.
And I didn't understand that. Are appliances in the future going to have a wireless capability, or are they already transmitting wireless signals from our smart meter around the house?
Certainly in the master plan is that every single appliance will have a transmitting device to talk to the smart meters and vice versa. How many have it today? And even if you don't have a smart meter, I don't know. But the master plan is to basically not only monitor but control your appliances, so they can turn off your air conditioning or your refrigerator. And even worse, in many ways, which was spoken to in this thing, is cyber security. A malware can be planted into every smart meter in this country, such that it would turn off the electricity to every single place simultaneously time zone adjusted. And that would be an unbelievable calamity. And that is also a major issue, though the health issue is the immediate thing that impacts people.
Thank you, Nancy, for your question.
Eric, I'd like to also follow up. Another thing about that on a political issue, wavelength, if they don't like what you say, if like for instance I go to SMUD and I'm complaining or something, they can turn off my power. And a flip of the switch, they don't even have to go there. So it really can be used politically against people as well. And the other thing I think that is not well known is that these meters and the appliances will, my understanding, have RFID chip readers, which means anywhere you go, because the RFID on your driver's license and all different kinds of things that you have and carry in your wallet, those elements, they will be able to track you, because each of these meters have an ability to follow you. I mean, it will. If somebody wants to know where you are, they can find out through the data that's produced. So it's pretty onerous. The other thing that people don't understand is that there is a lot of deception in this. That they say it's time of use, or that they give you the information immediately, but that information doesn't come to people immediately. I think it comes, Eric, the next day, is that correct?
Well, yeah, the customer gets it a day late, but SMUD and unknown third parties get it instantaneously. And you have to remember that David Petraeus, head of the CIA, says, "We will spy on you through your dishwasher." Now, cogitate on that. That's what the head of the CIA said. Don't discount it.
So it's an interesting discussion, and what I'd like to contribute is the key is disclosure, disclosure, disclosure. Is tell us what is in our products. We need to know. It's our right to know. And that's what I believe we all need to keep saying over and over again with every product. We need to know, we want to know as we make choices in our purchases and in our life. And it's our responsibility, each one of us, to protect ourselves and our children and our families and our community. Protect yourselves, and do so to take public health and your health first. And try and do what you can to opt out for yourself. And then also go beyond just opting out. There's other best practices to protect yourself. Go after the best practices. You've all heard the term fiber optic. It's not wireless. It's hardwired. It's fiber optic. Connect. Stay connected. Those are my input.
Okay, next question. Please come up.
I think you've got one there. Eric, look to your right.
Oh, yeah, Richard. Yeah, come on.
Couple of technical questions. Excuse me, can you hear me all right? You mentioned they could spy on us through our dishwasher, but you're also hinting that they could spy on us through a friend of mine's dishwasher if I happen to be across town at their place. Is that what's implied here?
Yep, Richard, you see the little silver stripes on the back of this clear American Express card?
Yeah.
And there's a little silver disc. This is the RFID chip. So if there's RFID chip recognition technology installed, that's certainly capable. I know an engineer that says he's seen it already in the block diagram. So that means, like, oh look, you and you, they're all over here. That's a bad combination. Send out a team to investigate.
Eric, can you talk into the mic so people can hear?
It has the ability to scan your credit cards, and they'll say, well, there's three important people all in one spot. That's a critical mass. Send out a response team. Did that answer your question?
Yes. And the other question, technically, will these things communicate with your cell phone? Does your cell phone have an RFID chip in it? I don't know.
Okay, I've been to every single SMUD meeting and analyzed them quite well, and they are saying, we're going to have a technology where you can change the temperature on your thermostat from your cell phone. So, and that's going to go through the smart meter. How do you feel about that?
I get a chip
trust me with your email, and I'll send you something. You can opt out anytime you want, and I'll keep you up to date, and you can participate as little or as you want, and we'll direct you to the various parts of Smart Grid information you want. Okay, thank you. Come on up.
Hey, Eric came to my house this week and checked it over, and I just want to thank you for your leadership. So, can I ask people to raise your hand if you had your smart meter swapped out? Raise your hand. These people in here were able to get theirs swapped out. How many people have symptoms in here you've noticed from the smart meters? Okay, cool. Just kind of curious. I have a friend who comes over to my house and she gets vertigo and this horrendous ringing in her ears when she's around the smart meter. Well, I want to say I noticed SMUD has people on the line that will help you when you call their number, and they were real helpful in telling me my records. I had to get online and get permission from my husband to give to the records, but they went back to 2009. I did notice that my SMUD bills did go up. Last 3 months I had $1,500 for 3 months bill. And when Eric came, I got a lot of great ideas. So I insulated them to the house. I swapped out from fluorescence to the incandescence, which I'm a physicist, and that's the black body spectrum of an incandescent light bulb is the same as the sun, and it's natural to our body systems. Whereas the fluorescent is mercury gas inside, and it is a different energy for our bodies. So I got mine swapped out. Ooh, there's a bright light in my eyes. And I just want to thank you for having that done. And it was totally Eric's words that allowed me to do that, because when I called last week, they told me that I couldn't go back to the original meter, that it wasn't allowed. They're still telling me that, and it took quite a few calls in on different lines. They were all still being polite, and kept asking, went over there personally and asking for numbers. So I just want to say, it's great that you're here, because I don't think it would happen if you weren't. I think we have a right to choose. So I'm quite partial for getting labels on genetically engineered foods, and I believe we have a right to choose with the electromagnetic radiation, this ocean around us too. Okay, so that's the big thing I wanted to say, is that even this week they were telling us you couldn't go back. And so you have to have someone who's an advocate for you. And this organization is fabulous to see that people have stood up. My brother-in-law's on Salt Springs, where they stood up for, not installing them too. So it takes community action. Thank you. Oh, yeah, I'm going to get this. The DVD is really great. So
This is your EMF.
Oh, this is the numbers. He gives you, what's great is he gives you the numbers, and you look at the meters, and you know exactly what you have. It's no hocus pocus. It's just, we have a pulsing magnetic field behind my bed, which I measured years ago, but I've never been able to get anyone to come in and tell my husband that that's not okay. And I've gotten 2 cancers on my face that took most surgeries while sleeping a few feet from that. And so it's by the head of my bed, it's by the kitchen stove, and it's by my desk and the couch. So where 24 hours a day, pretty much, I've got this pulsing magnetic field. And you said it's caused by a neutral wire. You have 2 circuits wired in. So you can have these resonating circuits in your house where it's improperly wired. And that's one thing that Eric diagnoses when he comes. So that was what you said, it was the neutral wire.
It was a wiring problem, probably related to neutral. It might have been there since the beginning of the house. And it might actually be code.
It might be code.
Yeah, right. It might pass code. It has to do with them swapping, and there's people here that know about that, but unfortunately these things happen. Okay, now isn't that horrible that you can be treated by SMUD and saying no, that all ended? And either SMUD is totally inept and they shouldn't be doing the job they're doing, or they're totally deceitful. Maybe 50-50, I don't know. But when they tell somebody like her that you can't opt out, and she calls back and gives them a little different story, they go, oh, yeah, sure. Okay, who's next?
She just mentioned that getting a large bill. We have a weights and measure system. If you go to the gas station and you look at the pump, there's a seal on it, and the gallon is really a gallon. The same thing in grocery stores where they're charging you by the weight. there's a real demand to say the weights and measure people should be in charge of the smart meter's accuracy.
Yeah, very good, very good. That's actually in our Constitution. Okay, do you have a question, Sherry?
Actually, I'd like to make a statement. My name is Sherry. I'm new to the group. I met Eric on Earth Day about a month ago. The SMUD installed my smart meter of June of 2011. At that point, I spent several months hysterical, in tears, literally on the ceiling because the frequencies affected my hearing, and I was diagnosed several months later with tinnitus. My husband was also diagnosed with a heart disorder, all within the same time period. My husband says I've been a raving lunatic for about 2 years. So when I met Eric and became informed with the information that Eric gave me, I then used the information that he gave me, and I contacted SMUD, and they pointed me to their website, which then allowed the option of 2 other smart meters, or digital meters, I guess. But they did not, or actually down in the fine print, they said, analog meters. So you really need to be specific that you want an analog meter. And it wasn't until I actually said, I spoke to Eric when when he heard Eric's name, it was like, oh, you want the analog meter? And I said, yes. So as of about 2 weeks ago, I had the I'm very loud, sorry. Okay, is that too far? Okay. I had the smart meter removed. I now have an analog meter. I have come from a 7 to 10 range of ringing down to 1s and 2s, so I can actually function. And it has made that drastic of a difference. So I can just give you my personal testimony that this is how my life has been affected. Thanks.
Thank you. Eric, I'd like to add something.
Yes, please.
This is why it's so important that we get this information out, because Cheryl had no idea why she was suffering. As did I didn't either. I had no idea. It turns out that I actually had a smart meter installed on my home, or a pre-smart meter, because SMUD went out and installed pre-smart meters over 5 years ago, and I had this on my house and I've been suffering. It's a digital meter. They call them pre-smart meters. They still were transmitting radio frequencies, and I didn't even know it. And I was suffering, and I, like Cheryl, went to my doctors with tinnitus and heart palpitations. They couldn't find anything wrong with me. Now, the more that people come and learn about this type of stuff, they're going to understand why they're suffering, and we have to get the medical world also educated that people are suffering and why they're suffering, instead of putting you on medications that don't fix the problem and just mask the symptoms. So that's why it's really important that people like you start telling other people so that people become aware.
Yes, and I think I want to ask you, is it right, fair, legal, or lawful to put a radio frequency transmitting meter on the side of someone's house without letting them know what's going on? No. Okay, you know what? I think the lawsuits are going to come in just like a flock of migrating geese. And all we got to do is inform people. Okay, who's got a question? Okay, come on up here. And it's kind of tricky. You got to get the right. What? Down. Oh, okay. You got 6 inches. Watch the lady that way. Okay.
Thank you for helping me, Eric, the other day. I'm still working on getting my analog. But I was having a lot of problems, health issues, falling down, dizzy, cramps in my legs. But I have a question. Companies are selling products to help you with electromagnetic frequencies in the house, and this is one that you wear around your neck. And I'm just questioning, is any research being done? Are they valid? Because they also do home harmonizers that you plug in the wall to kind of break something. But I had to move out of my bedroom because the smart meter's in the wall near the bedroom. I mean, not there it is.
there's a big concern, obviously, in this room and across everywhere about the health effects of electromagnetic fields. But the devices that you have, the ones they put on cell phones, basically, charlatans will sell you products that make you feel like this is protecting you, and they're hokum. Now, I don't know that particular thing, but I know if like they have these devices you put on your cell phone, well, if they work, the cell phone wouldn't work. Okay, it stops radiation. There's no way that I know about that a little pendant will in any way protect you from electromagnetic fields.
Well, that's good. I was at the co-op and ran into Eric. It's not getting my meter changed, I hope.
Could I make a comment though? People do need to know that there are physical ways to help mitigate some of these things. For instance, what my experience was, I was really having strong reactions to the radio frequency radiation from the smart meter, vision loss, heart issues, brain fog, insomnia, just went on, and I'm very conscious of my health. I don't have a cell phone. I really try everything I can do to manage my own health. So when I was having issues that I knew were beyond my capability to manage, then I started looking for solutions, and that's what led me to understanding about what's happening with the smart meter. However, one thing I did, so I'm still in the process of getting my smart meter removed, but they somehow didn't have the right meter, analog meter, so I'm still in process. But what I've done is that you can put aluminum foil on the wall of your house, right where the meter is, like 3 or 4 feet either way of the meter. I would say, I think we did it 5 feet long and 3 feet wide, something like that. And put the reflective side of the aluminum foil toward the meter, and that will reflect the RF radiation out. And I don't think it does it totally, but it has made a huge difference in my being able to at least manage. And the eye issues have gone away. There were areas of my house I couldn't even go into. It was so bad. So that's reduced it considerably. But the real solution is get the analog meter back. Now I want to tell you one thing that they're doing. They have something tricky going on with these analog meters, and I don't know how they're going to use it yet. But the analog meters they are putting on have the capability of becoming a smart meter by a certain card being inserted. So we think that their plan is, get us kind of to pacified, and then when we're not thinking and not watching, they'll slip something in. That's kind of what our guess is. But the point is, we have to start somewhere, and we have to really make some progress here. Yeah, and as an engineer with a PhD, I want to keep recommending the best practices, including what Kim just described. But I also want to caution people to make sure you use the right equipment to measure the outcome of what you set up, to make sure you're not impinging yourself with greater amounts, because the reflectivity can go the other direction if you have sources in the inside of your home from other devices. So there's care to be made to make sure you do measurements and follow up on your best practices. And if you want more information on best practices, I would say contact one of the organizations or Eric, and we can send you a list of best practices that are used throughout the world. And remember one main thing: distance is your friend. Stay a distance from the emitting sources. Remember, these are coming out. You can't smell it, you can't see it, but if you know where the source is, stay your distance.
Tony's remark about distance is your friend. I'd like to see hands go up for how many people have cordless phones in their house. You know they radiate 24/7, so they're always radiating. And you want to be, if you think you really have to have a cordless phone, you want to be as far away from the base station, which is where you put the handset, as possible. Many people keep them in their bedrooms. They don't have to get up at night if the phone rings. Cordless phones and cell phones have been identified with 8 different cancers. And one of the most extraordinary ones, women are now keeping their cell phones in their bras. Smartphones have 3 transmitting antennas. They get 3 primary breast cancers right where they were putting their phone.
I unfortunately have to use a phone because I work from home and I never know what door is going to be opening. But my handset does not transmit all the time. And I triple wrap the base station in aluminum foil and put it by the window. And the only way the radiation can get out is to go across the street. So I'm sorry it has to go that way. But it reduces the output of the phones. It used to be so powerful I could walk 3 blocks that I was still on the phone. Now I just get to the front door and it fails. So I've reduced the output 20-fold. And you want to reduce your output as much as possible. Okay, so we have a question over here. Sharif, or which one of you folks? Okay. Thank you. And please kind of adjust your voice on.
I tend to be a bit loud myself. My name is Lorianne, and I take care of live plants in businesses. I have a lot of offices that I go into, and I've had an opportunity to talk to some of the people that I go into their offices, people like, some energy commission and some different people or whatever that I would have considered to be, on our side per se, but they're not. And so I'm just wondering if there's any particular publication or anything that, because what I'd like to do is I'd like to be able to have like a 1-page or a 2-page something that I can actually get them to look at that doesn't look like, just a hit piece. Something that might get them to actually look at it and get the other opinion. So I really feel like some of these people, if they actually were able to see this movie or, to get this information, that they would change their minds, that their position would change. They're smart people. They're just not listening to the right people. Yeah.
Right, and they're not focusing, if they're probably working on energy issues at the Energy Commission or other things like climate change, which are big issues, and maybe not focusing on this particular, we work in silos sometimes. But I do want to point you to the Environmental Health Trust, EHT, under resources. There's, you can pull down, and this is, and feel free to take one from here. This gives doctors advice to patients and their families, and this was put together as well as CHE, has what we call the practice prevention, EMFs, and it's a very concise, to the point, and gives the information like you described that you're looking for. Hopefully that's helpful. Feel free to take stuff.
Tiny little question regarding the last conversation about aluminum foil and exposure. I live in a neighborhood where the houses are pretty close, and they actually read, or when they used to read the meter, they would read the meter of my neighbor over my fence, and that was easier for them to get into the back of the, so it's quite close to my house actually. And I'm wondering if the aluminum foil, just on my house, with the shiny part pointing out towards their house, if I can't convince them to get an analog meter that serves them right, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Would that help protect me?
Yes, it will help.
And the distance, I'm wondering, when you say distance is your friend, you're talking about 10 feet, 10 inches, 10 miles, what are we looking at here?
The technical phrase is the inverse square law, but rather than getting complex like that, if I hold a cell phone about this far from my head rather than against it, that's about 100 times further away, placing it to my ear. The reduction of the radiation going to my brain is 10,000. That is 100 squared. 3 times further away is 1/9 the power. 4 times is 1/16. Distance is your friend is the simple message to remember. Stay physically away.
By the way, the SMUD website says that cell phones are 1,000 times or 10,000 times stronger than the smart meter. Well, I had a senior SMUD technician named Frank Piscitelli come out to Rosa Perrick's house with a $5,000 NARDA broadband meter, and he tested all of her smart meters. And then I said, gee, would you test my Motorola flip phone? And he goes, yeah, sure. And could you put that in a report? Yeah, sure. Turns out SMUD has determined with their own testing and report that the smart meter is 240 times more powerful than my cell phone. I have that documented, signed by SMUD, and I'm going to make them change their website. And I'm going to say, once again, you are deceiving people. This is fraudulent conception. You've already got liability. The best thing you can do is stop it now, turn around and repent, because the lawsuits are going to come down like a truckload of bricks. Okay, now we have somebody else over here, and we want all the questions. Every little question you have is vitally important. This is your opportunity. And I want to let you know at the end, we're going to have some very interesting meters, an oscilloscope, a few different kind of meters that show what dirty electricity looks like. Lloyd's going to do this, and how you can simply get rid of the dirty electricity with some simple filters, and how you can even read it simply and understand what you've got. So, Cherie?
My name is Cherie Nelson, and I have experienced quite a number of symptoms such as the heart palpitations and chest pain, insomnia. I had thyroid nodules, which were just making me just so jittery and anxious. However, it occurred sometime after the meters were installed in apparently January of 2010, and this came later and more recently. I am just curious. I'm very grateful to Eric, because he invited me to the SMUD board, and then I did have Mike Moriarty send his team out, and they measured the meters where I live, and I live in I'm a renter, so there's 15 units in a little room. Fortunately, it's from here probably to where those exit doors are. But when they measured with their fancy units, they just wrote down a bunch of numbers, and they're going to send me a report. And to my way of thinking, it feels a little bit like having the fox measure the chicken coop. And I don't know, it doesn't seem very real. And so I'm directing my inquiry to Lloyd to just give some more ideas about protection and the possibility of cumulative effects, and also where I could go to refer people to say, maybe there's more evidence out there about the health effects of the radio waves.
There is an enormous science literature on microwave radiation, for which is what smart meters have as well, such that the World Health Organization has declared it a possible carcinogen, as they have with electricity fields 10 years previously. The risks, the studies are mostly cell phone studies, almost entirely. And I also have a tagline to my email, which I think is unwritten national policy, and that is, if we do not look, we cannot find. So studies really aren't done. In fact, we heard in the film that the only studies that are being funded, particularly in the United States, are industry-funded studies. Okay? But there's brain cancer. There's acoustic neuroma, which is acoustic nerve tumors. There's a meningioma, which is the lining of the brain. There's a parotid gland, which is the big salivary gland in our cheek. There is leukemia. There is breast cancer. There is eye cancer. All of this is documented. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, because there is also biological effects such as very severe sperm damage for men. People like to keep their cell phones in their pockets. There's a microwave radiations also cause the blood-brain barrier to leak. The blood-brain barrier is in all mammals, and it protects certain things from getting into the brain from the blood supply. And so it opens up that thing, and so chemicals that are in your blood that are already bad news because of all the chemical exposures get into your brain. One of the common proteins in our blood is albumin, think egg whites. That gets into your blood. This has been shown in rats, and it's toxic to neurons. It kills neurons, which is why the blood-brain barrier is there. So there is an enormous literature. The safety limits are based on not cooking your brain. And it is true, it protects you from cooking your brain. But the total false premise of the safety limits is that the only biological effects is heating. And it's utterly not true.
And the other question is about the cell towers. I learned that the church where I attend, a beautiful historic building, has a tower inside of, I guess, a place where the bells are. And so I'm wondering if there should be a requirement to disclose to like the people bringing their kids to daycare that there's this source. And is there anything I can do about it other than maybe not go?
Well, the cell towers got to be enough of a concern. Not only are they putting them in church steeples, and they put them in attics, and they make them look like trees. I mean, there's all sorts of things that are done. This is an exposure that's also 24/7, and it's an involuntary exposure. Using a cell phone is a voluntary exposure. Smart meters are an involuntary exposure. There was a federal law that was written in 1996 called the Telecommunications Act, written entirely by industry. And it basically says that all governments other than the federal government, that is state, county, city, cannot protect the health of its citizens in whether they allow or don't allow a cell tower to go in. Now, the church had to get local approval unless there's no regulations in Sacramento. I don't know what the regulations are here. So there was some information. Now, the horrible thing about this is they get paid a lot of money. I mean, it could be $16,000 a month. So schools, fire stations, churches, synagogues, all of them are very seduced by this money because they don't realize there's any problems at all.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming, Sheree. We've got about 10.
Let me just quickly, Sheree, just one other thing too is that there is actual clothing that you can use and wear that can help protect you from some of the ambient RF radiation. And Julie, you might,
it's called less EMF. I'm not sure they call them, but they sell fabrics and products that you can use to help shield yourself. Unfortunately, they're expensive. They're not cheap, but they can help block RF. They don't really block EMF though, or the dirty electricity.
I think that's less EMF.
Yes, less EMF. They have a lot of good products, and unfortunately, where I work at the UC Med Center, I didn't have symptoms up until about 6 weeks ago. Suddenly I'm having symptoms at work a week later, and I'm not knowing why, because I got my smart meter off at home, and I'm feeling better at home, I'm sleeping, I'm having less ringing in the ears. Suddenly I'm having all these symptoms at work. And we get an email a week later that they've installed a new paging system by Motorola and installed antennas on some of the buildings. And they've installed one on the building that I work in on the 3rd floor on the roof. And so now I'm feeling it at work, and I bought one of their hats, and I cannot be there without that hat on. It's not stopping the ringing in the ears, it's not protecting my thyroid gland or any of my other parts of my body, my eyes in particular. But it is helping stop the lightning bolt pain. That's what happens. It's like a lightning bolt that struck me on the side of the head when it hits me. And unfortunately, there are some products you can get that can help to shield yourself. And Kim and I intend to purchase some of them soon.
I think that the big thing, though, goes on to what we were saying earlier is start with a smart meter, get your smart meter off your house, then talk to your neighbor, talk to your family, spread the word. We have to radiate this out so that we become a whole community that is electrosmog free. That's our goal here.
Okay, just want to let you know we have officially about 9 more minutes to use the hall. So, I beg your pardon?
Was there one more question down
Yeah,
there?
somebody have one? Okay, L. Kirchhoff. Okay, go ahead, L.
Chattanooga, Tennessee. There's only one Chattanooga. I know. They put in smart meters with fiber optic connections. Does that affect does that have any reduction in health effects?
No, absolutely not. The fiber optics do not radiate. And in fact, there's no reason for the smart meters to be wireless. What they could have done, you have to have a fiber optics, which I guess Chattanooga does. In Korea, every place has fiber optics. We're really a backwater country in terms of that bandwidth. But you could use the phone lines that exist everywhere. They're already there, whether they're in use or not, and could have transmitted the amount of information on the phone lines which do not radiate, that is landline phones, which do not radiate at all. Earlier, there was a mention about a little module that's inside the smart meters, and that's true. There's a little printed circuit board, we call it a module, that is the transmitter. That could just as easily be taken out, and you could put in a connection for a phone line. It would use your phone hardly at all, even if you still have use, and many people don't even use it for their landline phones anymore. There's absolutely no reason. This thing is a boondoggle.
So why is it going worldwide?
Because it's subsidized by governments. I don't know how other governments treat utilities, but in the United States, utilities get paid a 15% return on all capital investments. So the more money they spend, the more money they make. That's why they want nuclear power as well. They cost an enormous amount of money, and so they get to make 15% on top of that.
So why did SMUD put a nuclear power plant?
Well, the one thing is why SMUD decommissioned it. That was a surprise to me.
I understand why they ever do it.
Well, they got paid, I guess, for building it.
I have another question. Is our heroin from the Nazis and the Cossacks, the replacement of how is she going to get with it? Because they're not going to replace 25 meters. How are the people that live in places that have multiple meters? Do we have a way of? Has there been a system for taking care of that?
I think we'll let Lloyd answer that one.
We're trying to do some things for Rosa, and it's experimental. We'll see what happens directly for her situation.
But she's not the only one.
Of course, but we got to see if it works one place.
Yeah, good. I like to hear that. Also, there's benefits from cell phone radiation. You mentioned that it immobilizes sperm. Probably explains the decline in teenage pregnancy.
It also causes testicular cancer, so if you keep it in your left pocket, your left testicle. If you prefer your right testicle to have the cancer, you put it in the right pocket.
So was what's the name? Angelo Chiloy, was she planning ahead to be able to stuff her phone in her breast pocket? Is that what she...
Okay, how much, you say we're getting low on time here?
Okay, we got 5 minutes left. Who's got an important question? We want to hear it here. Really, this is your chance. Yes, come on up. Okay, make them quick, okay?
Very quick question. I invited my son to come here tonight, who's planning on being a mechanical engineer, and about the smart meters. He says, Mom, now he's in education, public education, right? And he says, we cannot have solar and alternative energy unless we have smart meters. That's what he's being taught at a university level. Can you respond to that so I can go home and tell him something?
The word hokum comes to mind.
Nothing to do with it. It has nothing, but that's what they're being taught. That's
They're being taught by people that don't know what to talk about.
Or industry.
There is some truth to that, in that they're not allowing people to install solar unless, for most people, they can't afford it. So the way that you can do it is these companies are letting you install, and you lease from them. But the deal is that you cannot lease from them unless you have a smart meter. That's why.
So what we have is a lot of economic punishment reward. Smart meter, good. If you don't want it, you're going to pay through the nose. Health-wise, money-wise, some-wise. It's really just extortion in one way or another, if you ask me.
Solar power is a great idea, but the way they convert the power to get to 60 cycle, 120 volts creates enormous amounts of dirty electricity. For a little teeny extra cost, you can filter that out, but nobody's doing it. So the solar power installations, and for that matter, wind turbines, are major sources of dirty electricity. But it's absolutely trivial and almost no cost to get rid of the dirty electricity that's generated by essentially switching power supplies.
Just a quick question. So I'm happy to see a very active community here in the Sacramento area. I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, Peninsula, and I'm going to be heading home this weekend to check if I have a smart meter at home, because I haven't been home for the past 3 years. I've been here in Davis, and want to know what I can do if I do have one. Is there like a shield, something I can put around it, something to keep?
PG&E has an opt-out program too, which is Pacific Gas and Electric, which is the utility where you are. The outrageous thing, and PG&E actually calls their system an automatic meter reading system. That is, to get rid of the people that read the meters before. Yet they want to charge you $14 a month for someone to come out and read the meter. That's at least here, and I think that's the same with PG&E. Well, okay, so then why don't you reduce the price of everybody else's with a smart meter by $14 a month? It's only a way to collect extra money. They want you to pay for the product that was already there that they took away, $70. I mean, all of this is just a way to get more money.
But when I go home, what can I put around this?
Well, you heard, I think it was a great idea, and that is to put aluminum foil on the inside of the house, opposite where the smart meter is. Okay, and you could even paint it so it doesn't look like a piece of aluminum foil on the wall.
Yeah, now, any other questions? Okay, what I'm going to ask you to do is, if your heart feels led that this is a worthy project for you, your neighbors, and your family, put the most generous donation you can in here. Okay? If you're not sure yet, well, thank you very much. How many more people think that this bill needs to get out? So this is a worthy cause. It's a worthy cause for worthy people. And please put your email in there. I will send you emails, and you can decide what you like or not. But the only way we can get together is if we band together. We thank you so much for coming, and we want this to be
Before we leave here, we have a real quick thing. And Julie, want to hold this?
One last thing.
Eric has been, like we said, a real trooper on this and helped to lead the way and been our leader. We just want to give a special recognition to him tonight. So we did a little bit of a certificate, and we'll read this. This is a certificate of appreciation awarded to Eric Winheim in recognition and appreciation of the determination and persistence demonstrated over the past year in lobbying SMUD for the ability of Sacramentans to return to analog electric meters. All Sacramentans owe a deep debt of gratitude for your courage to stand up for what is right and true. So we want to thank him, and we want to thank all of you for coming tonight and for caring about this issue and spreading the word. Thank you.